Thank you, Kim. Oh, and it is great to be here, and it's been a while since I have come out in front of all of you. It's probably been a couple years, but I did get my start here all those years ago. And I believe I had even attended a number of your meetings when I was serving as the state senator from Southwest Iowa. So I've been familiar with so many of you for so many years, and it's so good to see a lot of friendly faces out here. So I've got a whole list, man. Y'all know Brian Craver, right? Oh, Brian's taking pictures. Okay, he's my campaign manager in the state of Iowa. He put together a whole list of stuff for me to talk about. So we'll get to all that. But we've got a lot going on in Washington, D.C. But what I want to do is cover some of the highlights so far this year. Now, we're all so thankful that President Trump is back into office. And yes, you can applaud for that. I would hope you would applaud for that. But even this morning, as I was getting ready for the day, I was listening to the news, and I watch Fox News, but had that on, and the Trump boys were on there, so Don and Eric. And they were talking about this New York Times reporter, whoever it was, that came out just here recently saying that actually that 4-year break has made Donald Trump an even more effective leader. He learned so much, yes. You know, while we wish he had been reelected, right away, that 4-year break allowed him to pull together the America First Policy Institute, which is where he really was able to dig into a lot of the policies he wasn't able to achieve in that first Trump presidency, and identify those that fully aligned with his agenda. And so having that additional 4 years, President Trump was able to come into office at the beginning of this year, put into place the cabinet members that he wanted, and then really immediately get to work on policy. And having a Senate majority of Republicans, thank you all so much for supporting my colleagues across the United States in their re-elect bids, and having a majority of Republicans in the United States House has allowed the president to move forward with a very aggressive agenda, which is righting our nation after 4 years of what I would consider decline. So we have been working tirelessly on the nominations. I visit with the president often. I get to work on a lot of his agenda items. So I'm going to go through and kind of move step by step through some of those accomplishments that we've had. Number one, right out the gate, the president has said, I am going to secure the southern border. What did he do, folks? He secured the southern border. We have had illegal migration through the southern border nipped in the bud. And what is he doing? He is continuing to deport those illegal aliens that are criminal elements that have really caused trouble across the United States. But not only that, he took an issue that was really important to me and to those that were in Southwest Iowa that knew the Root family. And some of you know where I'm going with this. 9 years ago, yes ma'am, Kelly, 9 years ago, an illegal migrant was driving drunk on the streets of Omaha, Nebraska, struck and killed an Iowa native, Sarah Root, and killed her. That illegal migrant was allowed to bond out $5,000 and he was free, and they couldn't find him. He took off, not to be seen again. Okay, so President Trump had that man on his ICE top 10 most wanted list. They were not able to find him. Okay, and in comes Biden. What does Biden do? President Biden takes him off of that list. Who cares? Don't need to look for him. It's all done, right? Well, after all those years, I have my Sarah's Law, supported by Randy Veenstra and all of our Iowa delegation, all of the Nebraska delegation. That Sarah's Law was incorporated into a larger package called the Lake and Riley Act. The very first bill that the president signed into office, the very first bill, ceremony at the White House, was the Lake and Riley Act, Sarah Root Act. So this will stop, yes. This will stop ICE from releasing illegal migrants that injure American citizens or kill them. Okay, that's what my act does, on top of all of the other things that the Lake and Riley Act does. But not only that, while I was at the White House signing, Kristi Noem, who is our Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, was at that signing. So we've had a long-standing relationship with Governor Kristi Noem, right? So through these relationships that we have developed with all of our cabinet members, Kristi Noem was there. So I went up to Kristi because I've known her for a long time. We did the Trump bus tour together. Went up to Kristi and I'm like, Secretary, I have something I need you to follow up on. I'll get with you later on it. The next day, her chief of staff called me and said, Senator, the secretary told me you have something we need to follow up on. I said, absolutely. I need you to find Sarah Root's killer. 4 days later, 4 days later, they had located Edwin Mejia, the killer of Sarah Root, in Honduras. Between Secretary Noem and Secretary Marco Rubio, a dear friend of mine, they located this man. 4 days. They knew they needed to find Sarah Root's killer. So I knew that 4 days after the signing of the Lake and Riley Act at the White House. I couldn't say a word. I couldn't even tell the family. Because Honduras does not have the same extradition laws that the United States does. We don't have that bilateral cooperation. So Secretary Rubio had to work heavily with the Honduran government to get this man taken into custody, go through the judicial system in Honduras before he could be deported back to the United States to face our judicial system. So for about a month, this went on, and we were finally able to tell the family. And I was able to be at the airport in Omaha when they hauled that sorry you-know-what off of that plane to face justice for the Root family. I've been on this for 9 years. I'm like a dog on a bone. And knowing Scott Root and Michelle Root and going through that experience with the loss of their daughter and then thinking they would never ever see justice again, we were able to bring that man back, and he's sitting in a jail now in Douglas County, Nebraska, awaiting trial. So folks, I want to use that story to reinforce that, one, it meant something for me to be able to right a wrong that was done for not just an Iowa family, but an Iowa friend. You know, it is important that we follow through on our commitments to those families. And of all the people, the Root family, they needed justice. But second, I want to point out to you too how important relationships are in this administration. I work very well with President Trump. All of those cabinet members know it, and when they need something or I need something, we are constantly collaborating and working together. The fact that we were able to see them jump on this and get results within 4 days, something that the Biden administration refused to do. You know, it's pretty amazing, and it shows you that when we need something done, it can get done. But that was one victory, and it was right out the gate. Next, we moved on to working on the One Big Beautiful Bill. Oh man, so it got signed into law early part of July. The president was able to come here to Des Moines, Iowa, the first stop in his tour to celebrate America's 250th year of the United States of America. So he was able to celebrate that. How many went down to the fairgrounds?
Way too high.
Okay, it was pretty spectacular. The president was in rare form. He was in a really good mood. We had just gone through marathon voting to get the One Big Beautiful Bill over the finish line. But part of that bill was something that was, again, tossed on me from actually one of our cabinet members, Secretary Rollins. So we have been working on a farm bill. We weren't able to get a farm bill done under Democratic majority the last number of years in the Senate Ag Committee. This year, we hope we're able to get that done. The Democrats are kind of pushing back on us. But knowing that, we know we need to support the farmers. The reference prices, they've been a big deal. And those reference prices haven't been updated since 2014. And that was based on 2012 data. So we needed to update those. So Secretary Rollins and I were having a discussion about this, and I'm like, my farmers need to be supported. You know, commodity prices are really low right now. We're really struggling. This would be a win for us. And she's like, well, I'd love to see reference prices corrected and updated in the One Big Beautiful Bill. But the president has told me that he wants to keep it a clean bill. Don't add a bunch of other stuff in there. And she said, you have a really good relationship with President Trump. Could you please call him? So I was tasked by Secretary Rollins and the chairman, John Bozeman of the Ag Committee, to call President Trump and convince him to allow us to put this in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So I called, left a message with him. He always calls right back, but it took him a little bit of time. It was like 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, so that was Iowa time. He's working at midnight on a Sunday, you know, out in D.C. And he called me and he's like, oh, Joni, hey, were you asleep, Joni? I was, but I was like, no, Mr. President, no. I wasn't sleeping, I was just getting ready for bed. But we proceeded to have a conversation. And so I explained to him the situation our Iowa farmers are in, and that we really needed to update the reference prices, and could we please include that in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So we talked about it for a while, and then if anyone has ever had the opportunity to kind of listen into conversations, or even watch a press conference with the president, you start on one topic and you rapidly end up talking about 20 other things. So that's how my conversations always go with the president. So about 20, 30 minutes, then he wrapped it back up, came back, and he was like, oh, okay, Joni, okay. I'm sorry, I don't do the best Trump impression, but you know, he was like, oh, Joni, all right, I'll talk to my team about your farmer stuff. I was like, okay. Thanks, Mr. President. So yes, we were able to get that included in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and I'm glad that I have the trust of my colleagues and the administration officials to be the one out there attempting to convince the president to include our farmers in some of these items, and he really does care about our Iowa farmers. So really great conversation then. We were able to get the One Big Beautiful Bill over the finish line, and it included a lot of things that were really important to Iowans. You know, when we are talking about no tax on overtime, you know, just even in the last couple of days, I've talked to a lot of people that do seasonal work. So think about contractors in construction, road construction, home construction. We have limited time to get projects done here in Iowa. So there may be a number of businesses out there, they're focused. They have to get their work done while the sun's shining and the weather is good. And so they do have workers that have a lot of overtime. But many of them are hesitant many of the workers are hesitant with the overtime because they don't want to end up in a different tax bracket. There's a lot of consideration they have to go through. So they don't want to refuse that overtime. and it's good for their families. Well, we were able to include that no tax on overtime then in the One Big Beautiful Bill. When we talk about Social Security, you know, the no tax on Social Security. And of course, there are certain limits out there and rules that will be written with the One Big Beautiful Bill provisions, but it is providing a lot of tax relief for a heck of a lot of people across the United States. Here in Iowa, the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we passed it, we were able to prevent a $4 trillion tax increase across all Americans. But right here in Iowa, if we had not supported the One Big Beautiful Bill, an average household here in Iowa would have seen their tax bill increase by $2,060. $2,060. We avoided that. Think about all the Democrats. They voted for a $2,000 tax increase for Iowans. And we're not going to have that. So anyway, we were able to get the One Big Beautiful Bill over the finish line. Very thankful. But we weren't done there. So does anybody remember my first campaign ad? Make 'em squeal. Okay? Well, we've been making them squeal in Washington, D.C. And a lot of the work that I have done over the past decade with my Squeal Awards, for those that follow my Squeal Awards, about every month I am publishing a Squeal Award identifying fraud, waste, and abuse within the federal government. I've done that for a decade now. But not only do I identify those issues, I also present a solution for those issues, because I don't like it. And when I was serving in the military, I hated it when a soldier would come in and give me a problem, and I'm like, okay, what's the solution? And they had no solution. Okay, I'm not like that. You bring me a problem, you also bring me a solution. That's the way I operate. So my solutions through the years, a number of bills that I have presented, dozens of bills to solve a lot of the fraud, waste, and abuse within the federal government. I started my career as a county auditor in politics. You know, watching the books, providing oversight. I carried that into the Iowa State Senate. I still do it today. So all of those bills that I've had, several have actually been signed into law, but we provide solutions. But I also identify where waste is that we can claw back through what? A rescissions package. So that $9 billion rescissions package that was passed in the Senate, in the House not long ago, large in part was built upon my squeal work that I had presented to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy at Mar-a-Lago when they asked me to meet with them after the last election. I was able to present them with an 8-page document that outlined $2 trillion of savings in our federal government. Now, trying to get to that $2 trillion mark is pretty darn hard. We've got a lot of pushback coming from the Democrats and the unions that exist within federal government. So we're running into a number of roadblocks, but we will continue to build upon that success. So I am the founder of the Doge Caucus in the United States Senate. We have, thank you, a lot of work. And even though Vivek, he's in Ohio now running for governor, we wish him great success. And Elon Musk, I know there was this big, beautiful breakup, hated it, but we still are very committed to Doge work in the United States Senate and in the House. So through Doge, we are providing all of these avenues for cost savings in the federal government. So everybody will say $909 billion, whoopee. Hello? Okay. Here in Iowa, that's pretty big dough. Okay, so we started with a $9 billion package. I've already sent over to Russ Vought at OMB, another friend, over at OMB, another $14 billion that they could act on immediately. Russ has said they probably won't move right away on that. We've got a number of other priorities. But again, it's all of the squeal work that I have. So piecemeal, we're presenting them all of this information. Now, what I've done, Secretary Sean Duffy over at the Department of Transportation, what I've done with him is identify within the department $160 billion of savings that they could act on right now as well. and do that without having to go through Congress. But one of those is Nancy Pelosi's Crazy Train out in California. And let me tell you about this. You can go back several years because this was one of my Squeal Awards way back when. So this high-speed rail project in California is $100 billion over budget. Over budget. And they still haven't laid a single rail. It is insanity. And that project needs to be canceled, or Californians can pay for their own darn high-speed rail project. That's just one of the egregious examples that I have found through federal government. We could talk all day about USAID and the package that just went through, the $9 billion. A lot of that was USAID oriented. Most of that was the work that I had done in the past several years with the Biden administration. And it all started really as we were supporting the war efforts in Ukraine. And I know there's a lot of differing views. I believe in supporting them with military platforms, okay? I don't agree with the humanitarian aid that supposedly goes into Ukraine. Because what I discovered, most of that humanitarian aid is not actually getting into Ukraine. So I started investigating this years ago because I couldn't follow the dollars. And I was getting a roadblock at every turn from Samantha Powers, who was in charge of USAID. Okay, she wouldn't release the documents to me. As a United States Senator providing oversight, she said, no, you can't see it, you can't see it. And she wouldn't allow my team to go in and look at any of the humanitarian aid contracts. Well, what we figured we would find there is that the contracts that were being signed with these non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, we thought, those NGOs are probably skimming 40 to 50% of those dollars to pay for their, overhead. What we call it is the Negotiated Indirect Cost Rate Agreement, or a NICRA. And we do allow those NGOs, they need to pay their bills, they need to pay their rent on any offices they have, we get that. But it shouldn't be the majority of what's being donated for humanitarian relief. Well, they stalled us, and finally we were able to pressure them with subpoena. You either allow us to come in or we're going to bring you in front of the House Oversight Committee. I had a great partner in the House working on this. And they said, okay, you can go in. So what we discovered is that a number of those contracts, that NICRA, that we thought maybe was 40 to 50%, was most often 70 to 80%. So the tax dollars that were being gathered, not just for Ukraine, but a lot of other humanitarian operations around the globe, 70 to 80% of those dollars were going to fancy office space in Paris, France, nice meals out at fancy restaurants to entertain people. That should never happen with your tax dollars. If we are going to provide aid to countries that need it, we need to know that our dollars are being spent wisely in support of values that the United States holds dear. That is not what was happening in this case. So USAID, and I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about it because I do believe that there are parts of USAID that do very good work. But unfortunately, in the military, we call it mission creep, where they just started to do whatever the heck they wanted with the dollars that were given them without congressional authorization. They started wandering away from the original mission that they were chartered to do. So USAID now is under Secretary Rubio over at the State Department. I anticipate maybe someday we will see a version of this resurrected, but highly focused on what we need to do as a United States to further our values, and not supporting things like, and you've heard all of the examples, transgender opera, Iraqi Sesame Street, all of those things that are not really part of who we are as a nation. So that's part of the rescissions package. So we had the Lake and Riley Act securing the southern border. We had the One Big Beautiful Bill. We had the rescissions package, more to follow on that. Hopefully we have a farm bill coming up. So I'm working heavily on that with John Bozeman, our chairman. We have a lot of priorities coming from Iowa. Our Iowa farmers and ranchers provide a lot of input. So I'm working on that. Chuck Grassley is also on that committee, so you've got twice the power. And what we're focused on is putting more farm in the farm bill. So the last farm bill that we did, that sounds crazy, but more farm in the farm bill. The last farm bill that we did, so I've been part of one farm bill prior to the one we're working on now. That farm bill cost us just over $800 billion. That's a lot of money, folks. It's a lot of money. And only about, I believe it was 20%, is actually less than 20%, but I don't remember the exact percent, but less than 20% of that farm bill was actually farm programs. Okay, the rest was a lot of climate, things, or that's what was being included in the last one we were working on with the Democrats. But think about SNAP. SNAP is important because we need to support families that do need assistance. I believe that. But when you talk about a farm bill, we should call it probably the Farm and SNAP bill, so people understand. Because we have a lot of folks out across the United States that are like, we're giving $800 billion to those farmers. That's not what is going on. So that was the last farm bill that was signed into law, was just over $800 billion. So the farm bill we were working on with all the climate stuff, SNAP, and everything under the Biden administration, that farm bill that we did not do because Republicans would not agree was nearly $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion. And again, only a small portion of that was farm programs. We said no way, no how. Because what they were trying to do is anything that they didn't get done in that Inflation Reduction Act or the Green New Scam, they were trying to put into the Farm Bill. Didn't belong there, should not be going through the Agricultural Committee, should have been going through the Environmental Committee. So we stopped it. But nearly double the cost to Americans through that Farm Bill. So what you will see with us working on the Farm Bill this year under Republican majority in the House and the Senate will be a slimmed down version that puts more farm in the Farm Bill. This is the right way to do it. It's the way to take care of Iowans. So I know I'm running close on time here, but and I could literally go on for days about what we're doing in DC, and I love giving you a little glimpse of what we have going on kind of behind the scenes. But I want to talk about our military too, because I am heavily invested personally in service to our nation and supporting our veterans and those that are currently serving. So what we are doing is going through, and we've seen a huge, we've seen a huge recruiting surge in every service branch this year under President Trump. Some of our services, yes, and retention, some of our services have met their annual recruiting goals already, and we're only halfway through the year. So that is a really good thing. Within the Army, and God bless him, our Army Chief of Staff is an Iowan from Alden, Iowa, Randy George, 4-star general. He is fabulous. Comes from a farm family over in Alden. Incredible man, great relationship. He has started on this, a while back, but the Army Transformation Initiative. Now this is going to cause some ripples out there, but we have to do it. I agree completely with him. We need to divest of old platforms that will not benefit us in a future fight. We have to quit, and we are bad about this in the federal government, pumping money into items we no longer need or use. We need to look to the future because we cannot fight our adversaries on a battlefield that's focused on the 1970s, 1980s, or 1990s. We have to have the competitive military advantage over China. Not so much Iran anymore, but which is a whole nother story. Oh my God, I'd love to tell you all about that. Okay, but I mean, we have a number of adversaries that continue to invest in technology that could quickly defeat us on the battlefield if we're not engaging in that space. So what Randy George and his team in the Army is doing is divesting of those platforms and investing in technology that will take our soldiers into a future fight. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the Doge work that we are doing across the government. Our military is strong, it's going to be lean, it will be lethal, which is where we were not focusing 4 years ago under the Biden administration. So not only did I invest my lifetime in a service to our nation, now I have my next generation, my daughter. Many of you have known Libby as she grew up having a mom in politics. She chose to go into the Army as well and is currently serving, both she and her husband. So, you know, as I think about the future, I want to make sure that my daughter, her husband, any other man or woman who chooses to wear the cloth of the United States will be survivable on a battlefield and come home safe and sound. So that's all what we all should want. So follow me, hop onto my Squeal page on my website. I could go on and on about Squeal activities, and I have a passion for it. But I thank you all so much for all of the wonderful support that you have given me through this past 11 years or so, and even before that when I was in the state senate, when I was a county auditor. Roast and Ride. Brian will kill me if I don't tell you about Roast and Ride. Okay, so October 11th, Roast and Ride, biggest gathering of Republicans in Iowa. So all you have to do is go to roastandride.com and sign up. Please do, roastandride.com. The meal is free. Now, those of you that are motorcycle riders, you're going to come out with me to Big Barn Harley Davidson, and we are going to go on our ride. This is my 10th annual ride. So come out, $20 a pop for the motorcycles. Okay, all of that $20 is going to this year's charity. I always choose a veterans charity. This year's charity is the Blue Star Mothers of Iowa. So, and we love them. We love them. We have 1,800 Iowa National Guardsmen that are deployed right now to the Middle East. I will be seeing them very soon. But our Iowa National Guardsmen and what the Blue Star Mothers of Iowa, what they are doing and what they're committed to do is at the holiday time, every single one of our deployed National Guardsmen will be getting a care package. That is going to cost, I talked to April Conway the other day because she's spearheading this effort. April said the estimated mailing costs $77,000. So we're going to help contribute to that. And I don't care if I raise $100 on the motorcycle ride. I'm committed to at least giving them $10,000. So I'm going to help them raise that money, and hopefully we can get even more donated to that cause. But come out, support the Roast and Ride. The meal is free. Just make sure you register so we've got enough food. But if you're on a motorcycle, $20, and if you want to give us more, we would happily take it for the Blue Star Mothers. So come out. We're going to have a lot of fun. No announcement on my speaker yet, so we will get there. But what I will ask too, as I wrap up, this is going to be a very big election year for us coming up in this next year. So I am asking all of you, turn out, turn out, turn out. We've got great people running for all kinds of offices here. So in the Republican primary, you must turn out. Okay, and then after all of those choices have been made through the Republican primary, then we all come together as Iowa and support our Republican candidates. And we turn out in November and we put the Democrats in their place. Because let me tell you, I got a lot of years under my belt and I've got a lot of confidence. Not just in me, but all of our candidates up and down the ticket. Here in Iowa, we have fabulous representation. We have people that get things done. This is a great state to live in if you want to be free and hold those values out for the world to see. This is the place to be. Okay, so Republicans are going to rule the day. I love it. Every day we get a new Democratic member of the House or Senate that decides to run for this Senate seat. Bring it on. Bring it on, folks, because I tell you, at the end of the day, Iowa is going to be red. Iowa is going to be red. So hopefully we can flush out some of those members as they choose to run for Senate or for House, because they don't stand a chance, folks. But they don't stand a chance because we all come together and we're going to turn out the vote next November. So God bless you all. Thank you so much, Kim, Westside folks. Thank you. I truly appreciate you and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.